With my knowledge, I will not make it. Nor will I live, no.
Welcome to Relating Relationships with me, Terry Owamposi. Our host is not here today. I'm running the show. That's my husband. You'll normally go on and on and on with Itagazelo Zake. What I know to the end of it, we are going to be speaking about something today which I am picking up from the last episode that he had about fatherlessness with Obab Maziboko. I watched the episode and there are few things that I picked up from there, and the things that sometimes are insignificant and we do not actually take them to heart, yet they affect us in the future. But I will be speaking about it mostly in the line of marriage, because that is my passion, that is my ministry. He spoke about not knowing the love of a father because the father was absent in his life. And the big question when I thought of that is, indeed, who would have taught him? Where would he have seen the father's love?
My father was not present. Okay. I actually don't know him. I wouldn't really recall, instances where I would have a relation. It was only here and there. It's very much blurry.
So when you say you didn't know him, what do you mean? You didn't know him as in there. You could not point him out and say, "There's my father," or you didn't know him in terms of relating.
I knew him. It's a bit of both.
Oh, okay.
So it's like when you grow up, you didn't know who your dad was.
Okay.
So up until a certain age, where it's like, oh, there's your dad. And then you start wanting to relate with this person, and there's a problem. There's a problem here. So we would categorize him as an absent father.
The father's love is the primary reference of somebody to continue with that legacy or to continue with that baton of loving. Now, when somebody, we question things to say that how is this person, but forgetting uti lomuntu, where did he learn other things? It just becomes like an obvious thing, something that we may deem to be automatic, to say that why is this person living like this or behaving like this, and yet this person has never found a primary or a foundation for other things. Now, picking up from that episode, this beloved Obab Mazibo was saying that I never experienced the father's love, and I realized that can be so serious, that can be so vital and important to say that yes, there will be a certain behavior. There are other things that can be obstacles in my life because I didn't experience the father's love. As you continue with that episode, he speaks about validation, that he always looked to be validated because there was no father who showed him the way.
It affected me, it affected my self-esteem,
How so?
When your father there are certain things that happens as a boy, sometimes there's this thing that you need your father to tell you. There are things that your father will tell you that this is who you are, right? And affirmations, that he affirms you every day. You are smart, you are this, you are that. He's teaching you how to stand for yourself and stuff.
Wow, that is how cruel life is at times. Situations that we find ourselves in that we actually didn't think there were bigger issues, and later in our lives they come up, they mushroom, and you start to realize what has happened, what is happening in my life. Now, taking it from the angle of marriage, you know, from the angle of marriage and from the reference, the biblical reference to say that a man must love a woman must submit to a man. Now, we speak of those words as just nice words that we think it's easy to say, how do I love? How do I submit? As if I was never taught. Now, I can imagine somebody growing up from an abusive home, whereby the mother was abused, whereby there was just so much that has had this person in their lives, right? Now, I'm just told from that kind of a background, remember we have been running with the issue of background when coming to marriage, things that were not checked or things that we should check from our backgrounds. Just imagine a sister that we got married at the same time, and I had the opportunity, I had the chance to watch somebody submitting to a husband. Like I said, somebody that actually gives me a baton of submission in marriage. Now, this one didn't have that. Maybe due to our last episode, fatherlessness. The mother never had anybody to submit to, and the mother had to make her own rules, and that's how she raised her children. There was nothing wrong with that upbringing, but the bottom line is this sister didn't have that training. This sister didn't have anybody that she can now refer to say that this is submission. But when she enters the union of marriage, she's just told, you need to submit. Submit? How? What does that even mean? What do I do? How do I go about it? When I know what I know, it's a woman that will call the shots. A woman that will make decision by herself. Because truth be told, it's that when there's a wife and a husband, there are things that we speak about. There are things that we say we go or not. But if I'm a single parent, what I say goes. So I had nobody to submit to. And now here am I. I grew up in that same, or in that setup, whereby my mother called the shots. But now I'm given this big word, submit. And I had nobody to tell me, what does it even mean? And to me, submission is, I don't even, I don't even know. You will help me in the comments, give me those examples to say submission to me is, what is it? Actually, sometimes it's, what is it? Siyaphila man. Let's just continue. And I would have a husband who would say, yeah, but when you don't give me water, when you don't give me food, get tray, you're not submitting to me. When you don't iron for me, you don't submit to me. When you raise your voice, you don't submit to me. But all my life, and as we know, most of the mothers we allowed, all my life I just knew this command. I just knew instructions. And when we come together in marriage, I do not have that understanding of that background. That this person actually had nobody to train her to what is submission. And now what do? We start to fight about it. We start to compare. You know what? Benyekwa Terry or Benyekwa Vosi. Terry would give indoda yakhe ukudla ngetray, uTerry would bring water to wash hands. You don't do it. But we have never done it. It's a brand new thing to me. Instead of teaching, Ubuti, let's sit down together and speak about what is your understanding of submission as my husband. Because I had seen no husband who was to be submitted to. But we end up fighting about it. On the other hand, you will think, somebody, as much as a man would approach you and say, I love you. But what is this man's understanding of love? A man who has been given a baton of love by a father who was a husband to his mother. Sometimes it's easy to do. Because I have seen, there is a point of reference when coming to love. Hence, I'm saying there's a baton that I was given. And that baton, it's not about things that were written down. It's about things that I've observed over the years. Maybe this man gets married at 30. Over the years, over 30 years, you have seen a man love a wife. And you have your own understanding of what love is. It is easy for you to love your wife. Because now you end up loving this wife the way you have seen your dad love your mother. And you'd say, I've never had my father shout at my mom. My dad would cook for us. My dad would take us to school. My dad would take my mom to a salon. My dad would take my mom to spa. And that was your understanding of love. Now, there is this man who didn't have that. Who didn't have a role model that said, this is how you love a wife. And we again have challenges. As a wife, I start to say, but why don't you love me the same way that so and so love their wife? You never take me to a spa. You never even cook for us. You never do 1, 2, 3. You count them all, but you forget that Divorcee had a father who modeled that. Now, when you are to start from grade R and self-teach and teach yourself what is to love, when somebody was given a baton of love, when somebody was when love was modeled to somebody else. Now, you start to do it. Now, as their wife, when I understand that kind of a background in your life, then I sit and realize, no, I need to be part of this training. I need to teach this man how I want to be loved. Because this man is basically starting from grade R. There was no father to teach this man of what love is. Somebody has seen a father wake up early in the morning and make mommy and make wifey breakfast in bed. But if I never had a father who was that kind of a husband, and I sit there and say, you never even make me breakfast in bed. What kind of a man are you? What kind of love is this? But nobody modeled this love. But when I sit down with you as my husband and say, baby, I want you to treat me this way. When you treat me this way, I would feel loved. But I would hear, as we gather as women, we speak about a lot of things. And some of the other things that we speak about is, hey, my husband did this for me. My husband did that for me. But you don't realize we cannot afford even to compete on that, because we're coming from different backgrounds. When I come back, I don't need to fight with you. I need to say, this is how I would love to be loved. And be patient in the process to say that, Konjo, this person must go to grade 2, must go to grade 5. One day I would say, sure, my husband has graduated compared to where he's coming from. So back to that, you can tell again back to that background check. Now, even back to, yes, it's still background check. I need to understand, how did this person grow up? In saying everything that I have said, like I had mentioned in the previous episodes, that how I was raised was not my choice. The situation that I found myself in was not a choice. Therefore, we're not going to sit here, record a session and say this background was better than the other background. But in the union of marriage, we are there to help one another. We are both students who needs to be opened to learning and being trained. For some of us who had the opportunity and who were blessed maybe to be raised by both parents who loved each other, and we had learned this and that from them, and it became easier to get into this union of marriage because something was modeled to us. And if I got married to somebody with a different background, I am the one to help. And in me helping might even bring healing to this person, would bring a different perspective of life to this person. And that is vice versa. That can be a man that has been brought in this kind of normal situation where there was a father and a mother who was loving, who was submissive, either way. And when we come together, we now do a background check of saying, hey, this is what had happened in your life. Let me help you. And that can be so therapeutic to both of us. And we learn. So what are we saying? We need to be patient with one another. We need to have that heart to teach one another as a couple and be there for one another. To say that this one was raised by a single parent, whether being a mother, whether being a father, does not make this person a worse somebody because I was raised like this. I can take those bullets, I can take those pointers to say that this is what I've seen and this is how we can continue. And I want to believe that this session was beneficial and is helping somebody out there, and we're still going to continue with some more episodes that we are saying, let's build strong relationships, let's build strong marriages. With that said, thank you. This is Relating Relationships. We are addicted to good conversation.